久しぶりだな、麦わら。
What's up, everyone? We are here today with some more Bonney gameplay. Today we are taking on Lucci in our most recent locals. So we won the dice roll and chose to go second. So on 1 Dawn, Lucci does not have the Spandam, so he passes. On 2, it doesn't look like we have a searcher either, so we pass. And then on 3, he's going to swing 6, mill 2, gets the Lucci in trash, which is going to be helpful. And then we can see in his hand, yeah, he does have the stage. And so on 4 Dawn here, we either drew into a searcher, which it doesn't seem to be the case. It looks like our most recent draw in life was 8-drop and Hody. So it looks like we have 8-drop, Hody, Cavendish, and then a bunch of counter. So he took the 9, obviously, and then on his 5 Dawn turn here, I'm not sure what he'll do since we didn't play into the removal. And so in looking at his hand here, it may make the most sense to just swing 6 with leader, mill 2, see what you're able to get in trash, and then play the Rebecca to potentially pick up a 2K if you mill 1 or just something, some other value target. So that's what he does. He gets a Brook into trash as well as a Spandine. I think here you're probably going to pick up the Brook off of the Rebecca here because we do play a lot of 5 cost, and his leader ability with the -1 does make most of the 5 costs that we play in Brook range. So yeah, that's what he does here. And then on 6, I would imagine that we're going to play Cavendish here and then restand 2 and then just go big into face. But we just swing 5 here. It looks like we actually did top deck the Hawkins, which is going to be the most helpful card in this matchup. And that's because Lucci doesn't really have an effective way to remove Hawkins outside of battle, because any of the KO effects that Lucci plays involve playing an active character. So this is really just going to be a 7K swing at face every turn from now until the end of the game, unless he teched in the Finger Pistol event card, which would allow him to swing out with everything and then remove the Hawkins. But it doesn't appear as if he has that. So on 7 Dawn here, we'll take a look and see what he does. I don't think he's necessarily focused on removal at this point. He may just play bodies to establish tempo. Oh wow, okay, so he's just going to grab 4 Dawn and go 9 at face. We're obviously just going to take that, not give him 3 cards in this situation. And then he's paying 3 for what I imagine is a Brook, probably just for the cost reduction. And he's just going to pass it back to us for our 8 Dawn turn. I can see this being a Hody turn or an 8-drop turn. I think most likely this is going to be a Hody turn, have us clear his board. Since he already has the Rebecca in trash, we don't care too much about giving him an additional one. So I would imagine you're going to see 7 here for Hody, swing 5 from leader into Rebecca, swing 7 into Brook from Hawkins, and then 8 into face, which I would imagine he takes going down to 3 life. So we do play the Hody here, and we do swing the 5. Now we're debating if we want to swing 7 or 8, but we're just going to swing the 8 here. And then because he no longer has a board and black doesn't play rush, we are just going to swing 8 into face as well, because we don't need to keep up a Dawn for the leader ability. So ultimately the same result as what we were thinking we would do in that situation, with his board cleared and being at 3 life. So moving into his 9 Dawn turn here, we are fully expecting him to get rid of the Hody while playing Moria. We see that he has the Rebecca Spandine Lucci in trash, as well as a Suru. So leader plus stage makes Hody a 4 cost, Suru makes it a 2 cost, and then the Spandam Lucci is able to get rid of him. So this should be a pretty good turn for him. It's just all about whether he has enough CP cards in trash at this point to be able to activate the Spandine. And so looking at his trash, with at least what we can see on camera, we can see that he does have a Tempest Kick and a 5 cost Kaku at a minimum, outside of what he wants to play in his Moria combo here. So we see him reducing Hody after having swung 5. We countered out the Cavendish not wanting to go to 0 life. He plays a second Tempest Kick, so now we know for a fact he does have the number of CP cards in trash. He's setting aside his Moria play here. So we know what's coming, and we do have an answer on our turn. we know that we have the 8-drop in hand along with the 2-cost Rosinante, who's going to be your best friend playing black. So yeah, he does play the Moria. We see the Rebecca. He's deciding what he wants to play off of as a 2-cost, so he plays the Helmeppo just as a body, it seems, because he didn't need the cost reduction at that point after having played the Tempest Kick. So now we are just waiting on him to finish his Spandine Lucci combo at this point, but we've already gone ahead and trashed the Hody. And so now that he's finished that combo, he passes it back over to us. This should be a pretty quick turn here. We are going to want to keep up leader ability, and we know that the kid takes 9 Dons, so it's just going to be a quick 5 at face, 7 at face, and then play the kid Rosinante, leaving up leader ability so that we're able to rest potentially the Lucci. So yeah, we tap 8 here, tap the kid, play the Rosinante, and then stick 1 Don under kid, and then pass back to him. Now, black does have a few options in dealing with the kid here. He could potentially just use stage and then play a Brook to get rid of the Rosinante, and then swing big into it with Moria. And really, even if he doesn't have the Brook, Lucci and the 5-cost Kakus would be options as well, but that would only give him 1 swing into the kid, and we know that we have a fair amount of counter. In looking at what he just showed in his hand, it looks like his most efficient removal is going to be the 5-cost Kaku. Other options for his turn include playing the second Moria that's in his hand, or potentially the Isho. That would get cards out of our hand so that we're not able to defend it in future turns, plus just give the -3 in perpetuity, because we're not going to be able to remove the Isho as a green deck here. And funny enough, you can see in him shuffling his hand here that he is debating over those 3 options that we went over, as well as potentially playing the Brook that we saw him pick up off of the Rebecca over the Kaku, just because Brook doesn't have counter. But he's going to start off here with a 5 just to give the -1 to the kid, milling 2. So it does look like he's going to play down the Isho here. Going to rip 2 cards out of our hand, as well as get the -3 on future turns. At this point, we have 8 or 9. Yep, it looks like we have 9 cards in hand, so he's going to pick 2. He gets a Cavendish and an Ezo, so 3k counter out of our hand, which is pretty nice. Admittedly, at this point, we know what our next turn is going to be, so we are just hoping that he doesn't get the second 8-drop kid in hand, or the second Rosinante in hand. So he's going to use his last 2 Don to swing 8 into kid, which we counter out of, and then swing 9 into kid, which we counter out of. Now, this was a misplay on both of our parts. I did have the leader ability active at that point, so I should have just tapped the Moria, and he should have just swung with Moria first, knowing that Lucci could have been tapped. But like I said, we know what this turn's going to be. We're just going to swing out since our play requires all 9 of our remaining Don outside of the 1 attached to our existing kid. So we swing 5 with leader, he counters out. We swing 7 with Basil. He is debating if he wants to take it or counter out. I would imagine he's going to give us 2 cards because he doesn't want to go down to 1 life, because he knows we have a 9k swing coming. And so yeah, he does counter out of that, and then he does take the 9, and then we're going to play the 8-drop kid here along with the second Rosinante. So I think this was a good turn from us overall, outside of the misplay and not using the leader ability last turn, so we should be up 1 additional card. But from this exchange, from these 3 swings, he is down a net 2 cards, having taken 1 life and given us 3 cards for counter. So after that draw, he is now back up to 5 cards in hand with 2 life and no blockers on board, Really though, we're only considering that he has 4 cards in hand because we know one is the dead Brook that he picked up off the first Rebecca that he played. So that does help our math here on the following turn. And so what he's doing here is first starting out with a 10k swing with Izo, which we're going to snap block with Rosinante. Us having 4 cards in hand, we still want to keep one Rosinante active just to be able to deal with any possible KO effects. So with our 4 cards in hand, we know what they are, and that we have 2 2Ks, a 0 cost event, and a Hody Jones. We want to hold the Hody Jones in hand if at all possible for the crackback in case he plays any blockers just to turtle up, because if we can protect both of these kids as well as have the Hawkins plus leader swing, I think Hody Jones just guarantees lethal at that point, even if he does decide to play blockers. So we're going to see how he swings out here, but you may end up seeing us, depending on how high he swings, giving a 0 cost and a 2K just to save the Hody Jones. So he's swinging 5 with leader here just for the minus. So we know with 1 on Isho, everything on the board is -3. So the blockers is 0, Hawkins is a 3, and one of the kids now is a 4, one of the kids is a 5. And so he's debating what he wants to do here, given that we put him in a pretty precarious spot because he's not going to be able to really clear either of the kids, given that we have the Rosinante and counter to deal with the swings. So he swings 10 here, and we do give the 0 cost plus the 2K to counter up to 11. Now we know that he's used 2 Dawn, so he's only got 8 remaining, and he's going to play the Moria here. So we know that this is pretty much game at this point. No matter what he plays off the Moria, whatever he tries to KO, we're just going to use Rosinante to save it. And then we're going to play Hody on the crackback to rest the Rebecca. And then we're just going to swing out. We'll have a 5, 7, 9, 9, 9 if we need it, depending on how he counters. Because we know the Brook's dead in hand. If he counters out of the 7, we may just need to swing a base 8 with one of them, and then 9, 10. But we're going to see how the swings look on the crackback depending on how he counters out. And so yeah, here he is finishing up his Moria combo, having played a Spanding off of Rebecca to then replay the Lucci, getting rid of the kid, but we're going to use the Rosinante effect to save the kid. And now he passes turn. And I did want to quickly take the time to analyze the lethal math on this turn with you guys. So we know he's at 2 life with 4 cards in hand. We're always going to play the Hody to rest the Rebecca here. And we know that one of those 4 cards is that Brook, which is non-counter. So we're going to swing 5 here, get a card out, swing 7. He has 3 cards in hand. We know that if he counters out of this, that the last card in his hand is a dead card. So he does do that, and then we're going to swing 8 with Hody because we know that he can't counter out of that. And then we swing 9, he can't counter out of that. And then we swing 10. The most he could have with the Brook being in hand would be 9K, so it's guaranteed lethal. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe.